Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we will discuss about Imam Malik as one of the great mujtahid imams. So the title is The Development of Islamic Jurisprudence in the Era of Imam Malik. Next is about who is Imam Malik. Imam Malik is one of the four major Sunni imams and the founder of the Maliki school of law. His full name is Malik bin Anas, and he was born in Medina in 711 current era or 93 Hijrah, and passed away in 795 current era or 179 Hijrah. He was also known as Imam Dar al-Hijrah because he spent his entire life living and teaching in Medina. Imam Malik grew up in a city that filled with hadith scholars and tradition of the Prophet companions, which greatly influenced his thinking. Because of the environment that he has, his approach to Islamic law was strongly connected to the practices of the people of Medina.
Imam Malik lived during the time of the Tabi'al until the era of Tabi'in, which is a period when Islamic law was starting to become more structured and organized. At this time, the Islamic world had expanded very widely and reaching different regions with diverse cultures and ways of life. And because of this expansion, Muslims began facing many new issues, especially in areas like trade, politics, family life, and even worship. And many of these situations were not directly mentioned in the Quran or Hadith, so scholars had to think more deeply about how to apply existing teachings, and this led to the development of more systematic methods of ijtihad, where scholars work to derive rulings carefully and consistently. And during this period, two main approaches appeared, and one was Ahl al-Hadith, which focused more on textual evidence, and the other was al-Arai, which relied on more reasoning and opinion. And Imam Malik is generally associated with the Hadith based approach, but he also used reasoning when needed, and this made his method balanced and practical for real-life situations.
What is ijtihad? Firstly, ijtihad is the process of carrying out Islamic legal rulings for cases, especially when explicit texts are not available or differing to each other, creating either a lack of text to derive from for the case or a contradiction of text for the case, not knowing which one to pick. This has happened in a lot of different cases and rulings in Islamic history and Islamic legal history specifically. Imam Malik methods on conduction ijtihad uses a lot of different factors, both external and internal to Islam, to get a more holistic view of the case and ruling at hand. He doesn't just use evidence and stuff from Islam, but also use other stuff outside of Islam, like welfare and such. The principles he has is, first, the priority of the Quran and Sunnah, which are the legal rulings must first be based on the authentic revelations and should be based on the Islamic legal books itself, on the Islamic legal source itself, which is the Quran and Sunnah. Number two, Amal al-Madinah, the practice of the people of Medina. The continuous practice of Medina's scholars and community was considered very strong evidence because Medina preserved the living tradition of the Prophet during his time, and he was the, Number three, Qiyas or analogy, which is basically when no direct text existed. Imam Malik uses analogies to apply analogies of other rulings that already applied to new cases, such as, like, if they already have an old ruling and a new case is similar, they use the same analogy at least for those old cases or those old rulings for these new cases, new rulings.
Now I'm going to talk about the contribution of Imam Malik to Islamic law. Imam Malik made major contribution to Islamic law by helping to systemize fiqh and connect legal ruling with hadith as well as the living tradition of society. He expanded the use of mashallah, public interest, and emphasized the importance of social reality in legal reasoning, making Islamic law more practical and relevant to everyday life. Through his method, he laid the foundation of the Maliki Madhab, which later became influential in the region such as North Africa and Andalusia and continues to shape Islamic legal through today.
So, how did the Islamic law develop to the present day according to the school of Imam Malik? Unlike the Hanafi school, which prioritized qiyas, which is analogy, the Maliki school is unique for its emphasis on amal al-Madina, which is the practice of the people of Medina. The development in the Maliki school goes from amal to maslahah, which is public interest. Because Imam Malik valued the living tradition of Medina, his followers, later Maliki jurists like Imam al-Qarafi and Imam KKI.B, developed the concept of al-maslahah al-musala, which is unrestricted public interest. This allowed the school to adapt to new contexts like West Africa, Andalusia, and the modern North Africa, even when there wasn't a direct text or specific precedent from Imam Malik himself. Then, the role of takayur, or selection. In the modern era, which is the 19th to 21st century, Islamic legal practices often uses a method called takayur. This means instead of sticking rigidly to one opinion within the Maliki school, modern legislators like in the UAE, Morocco, or Sudan select the ruling from within the Maliki school, or sometimes other schools that best serve the public welfare. Then, there are also contemporary applications. Today, the Maliki school governs personal status law, which is marriages and inheritance in most of North and West Africa. Its development is characterized by fatwa institutions, which is bodies like Dar al-Ifta in Egypt, which has Maliki influence, and use the flexibility inherent in the Maliki principle of maslaha to issue modern rulings on finance, organ donation, and artificial insemination. There are also codifications, which, unlike the early era of the individual's muftis, modern nation states have codified Maliki law into state law, removing the chaos of multiple conflicting opinions and standardizing it for modern judicial systems. Thus, according to the Maliki methodology, Islamic law develops by looking at the objective of law, which is maqasid, because Imam Malik built his school on the living practice of Medina, which was about solving real human problems. His school naturally lends itself to flexibility. Today, a judge in Morocco or Nigeria can issue a ruling based on Imam Malik's book from 1,200 years ago, yet apply it to a modern banking contract using the principle of maslaha to bridge the gap.